Great. So here we have essentially 4 lists. These lists are candidates, positions, vacancies. So the example we're going to be using today is a recruiting application. So candidates are people who are applying for a position. A position is like a SharePoint administrator. A vacancy is a vacancy for that position somewhere. So you could have, let's say, many vacancies for a single position. And what that means is this 1 and N means for every one position you could have many vacancies. For many vacancies you can have lots of applications for a specific vacancy. So let's say we're looking for SharePoint admins and we need one in Washington, one in Chicago, and one in San Francisco. So that would be 3 vacancies for a single position. And obviously for each of those positions or vacancies you could have lots of candidates. So a candidate can apply for, give many applications to many vacancies. And this is the complexity that BPA solves with its platform, in that we can show a many-to-many or one-to-many or many-to-one relationship within a single view within SharePoint. And once we can start doing that, SharePoint becomes very powerful and almost acts more like a relational database versus just a straight flat list database. And we're going to see how that works. Here we can see a many-to-many relationship that is simply, let's say we've got a series of candidates, many candidates that can be part of a campaign, and a campaign can also be part of, or a candidate can be part of many campaigns. And this many-to-many relationship is something that we also support, but we're going to spend more time looking at these positions, vacancies, and applications. All right, let's move on to the interactive part, looking at some SharePoint sites. And we're going to start first with just a standard SharePoint site. This should look familiar to everybody. We've got our SharePoint navigation over here on the left, and we're going to go ahead and just a series of lists of applications, candidates, vacancies, and the like. And these are just standard SharePoint lists that were created. We can still drill into those, and we can see we've got an admin candidate in here. So the underlying the BPA solution is just standard SharePoint. So we're working off of standard document libraries, standard lists. We've got contact lists, we've got task lists, and things like that. But what we want to do is layer on top of the standard SharePoint functionality the BPA web part bundle to make it do things that SharePoint can't typically do. So you can see we've got candidate lists, we've got vacancies, and of course, you know, when you're looking at these standard lists, right, we've got the normal SharePoint search, which allows you to sort, do some filters and things like that, but pretty limited in what it can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this site that we've created applications, candidates, and vacancies, positions for, and we're going to start enabling the web part bundle. We're going to do a bunch of configuration here, and then we're going to jump over to a more complete solution to show you how once it is configured, you can provide a much richer experience and that one-to-many relationships for what's going on within SharePoint. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to go into our BPA settings, and we're going to go here to Quick Links, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to enable the BPA Navigator web part against the existing lists. So we'll go ahead and enable positions, and then we'll enable all of them here, and then this will actually on the left create a new navigation web part that has tiles related to positions, applications, candidates, and vacancies. Now, each of these are just accessing a title, the URL for the underlying list. You can change the color, and you can also change the icon that is on the button. So you can also see that the link itself is related to this title, recruiting. So this allows us to show and hide different things. Now all of this can also be security trimmed so that certain people who log in will only see certain tiles and navigation. So once we've got our navigation set up, we can go ahead and turn off the standard SharePoint navigation. So we'll come down here. We'll edit the links, and let's just go ahead and turn off most of these. And now essentially we've got a much cleaner interface that allows us to come in and look at those underlying lists. Now, which we saw here is that the list data that's going to be surfaced will be surfaced through one of our web parts called the Data Viewer web part. And this is something that will allow users to interact with large amounts of data and provide all sorts of extensive filtering, favoriting, and other things that we'll see as we move through this. So essentially all we need to do is activate the Data Viewer. So it is just a web part that was enabled here, and we need to select a configuration to it to turn it on. So in this case we're looking at applications, so we've created a view already called All Applications. We'll apply that change, come back to our application, and now we see the Data Viewer has that standard SharePoint view enabled in one of the tabs, and then down below in the Data Viewer web part is the results of that view. Once we've got this view, we've already got a record in here, we can do some pretty neat things such as this JavaScript pop-up, which allows you to actually create another view that will pop up the information so that you don't have to do a page flip in order to see the information or more information the Data Viewer is potentially showing. You can do an edit from here, you can do a delete from here, but you can also see we've got a lot more filtering capabilities for filtering large amounts of data. Of course, the results that are returned from this view can be paginated so that you can show only 10 at a time, 20 at a time, 5 at a time. That way if a view returns more than 1,000 or 2,000 results, it's not going to slow your system down because we're only going to show the first 10 or 50. And then you can paginate through or do a filter to search against all 5,000 to create a smaller view afterwards. So what's nice is that we can do contains, equals, not equals, less than or equal to. On date ranges, we can actually do in-between date ranges, which allow you to search for, let's say, all applications that were submitted in the month of June by doing an in-between delimiter on that. So lots of neat things happening within the application and the like. So let's go over here and look at some candidates. And we can see we've got another Data Viewer enabled here that's looking at a view called All Candidates. So same sort of concept. We activated the Data Viewer web part. We selected a view called All Candidates. Of course, within the candidates, you can have multiple views that allow you to see all candidates, recent candidates, rejected candidates, candidates from California, candidates from wherever, and the like. But let's go ahead and drill into the candidate view. Now what we're seeing here is another Data Viewer web part that's configured to show you in a much better layout all of the information related to this candidate. So we're actually looking at the record within the list. And this list can have paginations, it can be shaded, it can have all sorts of different things to view that data in a much easier way rather than just getting sort of a big scrolling list of data within here. Now what we see down here is a second Data Viewer on the page. It doesn't have a configuration, and this is where we start to bring out the one-to-many relationships. So what we want to do is look at other list data that's related to Dr. Lutz here. So we're going to go ahead and edit this Data Viewer. And then down below, this Data Viewer, which is below, we're going to add a configuration that is going to be all applications related to that candidate. So what this view does is it takes the candidate name and search in the applications list for all applications that were submitted by Mr. Lutz. So we'll go ahead and apply that. We can go ahead and add more and more configurations to this if we'd like, which we'll see over here in the main thing. I just want to go through that these are just web parts. We are using standard SharePoint views. We're doing against certain lists. We do have a question here about filters in the Data Viewer web part. We'll get back to you on that, Michelle. I think that's a little bigger answer that I want to make sure I get right for you on that. But let's go back now to candidates. There's Dr. Lutz. We look down here, and now we see the candidate list data, and then we see that all of his related applications, he's got one that's for the admin title that he's considering, and of course I have the ability to add a new record right from the candidate screen. Now what's interesting is when I do that, we're looking now at our data viewer form. So this is a very configurable form that allows you to create a much easier way for people to input data into a list, but also pre-fill information. You can see that the candidate name was already created here for Boris, so that this application will automatically be related to him. But then we've also got cascading and other lookup features. So we can, let's say, pick a position and it will bring up only the vacancies for that one position. Now we've only got one position in here, so we can go ahead and pick that administrator, and then we can see that what's come up is the vacancy, which there's only one in Seattle, related to that position. And what this allows us to do is quickly create those many-to-many relationships so that when I create a new application for Boris, I'll go ahead and add my name in here as the assigned to, some notes, and save it. We can see now that for Mr. Lutz, he's got two applications, one for this admin and another one, there's a little configuration thing going on there, that he's also considering as well. So we've looked at the data editor and the data viewer, but what's nice is, all right, so what's nice is we've got an easy way to navigate through just some basic lists through our navigation web part. We looked at viewing information through our data viewer web part that allows us to do advanced filtering, editing, JavaScript pop-ups, and the like. We've drilled down into a record within a list and then was able to see all of the related data for other lists related to, let's say, a candidate. All right, so we're going to move on now and take a look at sort of a final product. Now in this case, what we see over here on the left is navigation that I've grouped into different colors under different titles, and that's all this is. So we started first with just the positions, vacancies, candidates, and pools. So I would say this has taken about 6 to 7 hours to create total rather than weeks. And really all we've done is created a series of views, a series of lists, and then activated those through the various web parts. And what we're going to do is go through all of the additional functionality we're adding to an application for this recruiting. So the first thing is on the home screen, what's nice is we now have the ability to dim where we are within the navigation, so you can see the home is a little less, is dimmer than everything else. And up here I've got two data viewer web parts. This one has 3 standard SharePoint views. This one has 2. The first one is sort of things related to me. So these are my applications that I'm working on. These are my pending tasks. I've got one follow-up happening here. And then down below, we've got this concept called favorite candidates, which we'll talk about, and my favorite applications that I'm currently working on. And these favorites are really a neat way to quickly highlight something that you may be working on this week or for today and put it sort of at the tip of your fingers within SharePoint. So let's go ahead and take a look at all candidates. And there's a couple things I want to note right now. The first thing is we've got the data viewer web part up. We're looking at a view called all candidates. And you can see some of these have stars that are gold or not. Simply by clicking the stars, you are adding them to your favorites list. And that's what we saw up here in the home screen. So it's easy as that. In our new release, we've also added this concept of a follow-up task or a flag. So if I wanted to follow up today, tomorrow, this week, next month, or create something custom, of course this is all configurable, I can go ahead and create a task to follow up today, and it will automatically create the task, pre-fill the appropriate related dates, assign it to myself, and create it as not started. and I can finalize the offer. So this is just a real fast shortcut to go ahead and create a task without having to zoom into the candidate, create a new task, fill it out, and save it. So now if I go back to my home screen, I can see I've got a second pending task here. And of course, we just put this here as follow-up. That can be customized to be follow-up with the name, or you could just have the view display the name of who you're supposed to be following up with, or of course you can use your little pop-up, and I can see the candidate is Marty there, and for here it's Michael Kimball. So again, showing just some of the easy navigation that your users are going to love when you apply these web parts to your standard SharePoint lists. What you'll also notice is we've got LinkedIn pictures and the like. And what we're seeing here is in our new spring release, we're going to have a new tool to automatically retrieve social data from candidates like photos, social profiles, age, and other things that you want to grab from various social sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like. Another new feature that we've added within our Data Viewer web part is that we have the ability to quickly create multiple lists and perform actions on them. So I've selected through the Data Viewer these 4 candidates, and what I want to do is send an email to each of them. So this could be something where you've got a view for all candidates, and then you want to look at a view for open positions for a certain vacancy and email everybody. So in this case, we've opened up our send email function, which is another BPA web part that allows you to generate emails right within SharePoint and send them and have those automatically logged in your task tracker. So in this case, we've got a nice rich text email. You can see it's got all of the information from the record, and this would be sent out to all the candidates that we just selected. You can have various other templates. You can send a test. You can do a preview. And the like, and you can also search for additional people that you may or may not want to end to. So the send email function is a great feature for sending templatized emails and attachments to people within your lists. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is let's go ahead and jump into the details of one of these candidates. So let's go to Mr. Lee. And again, now what we're seeing is the details of all of the information within the list, the candidates list. And what we've done is on the first page, put the most important information, and then we've paginated the address, and then any notes fields. So this way you can see we've got better use of our screen real estate without having to push all of this information into a single view or a long list of SharePoint data and the like. So what we also see here is the ability to export, to mail merge, or do a lot of other actions that you can add right to this record, so that you can, let's say, quickly add this to your Outlook by simply exporting the record. It will create an Outlook card that you can save locally. We'll talk about the Outlook Exchange, the Outlook integration in a minute. But then down below, what's interesting is on the development site, we just added all of Mr. Chen's related applications. But we can also see we've added all of his related emails, tasks, calendar events, what campaigns they've been involved with, and any attachments. So this, again, is creating that one-to-many relationship where we've got one person, and we can see all of their applications, all of their emails, and all of their tasks and the like. And these are simply lists, other lists that have related information to Mr. Chen that we can now see a full 360-degree view of information related to this. So we've seen all sorts of implementations of this, such as, let's say, asset management. We've seen help desk management. We've seen task trackers. We've seen project sites. We've seen anything that where you've got a single project and you want to see all of its related tasks, documents, and the like. So a very powerful feature in helping you develop these. Some of the neat things we're doing on the email side is obviously if we send an email to Mr. Chen, it's going to be tracked within his email side. The other thing is that we've got an Exchange integration or a connector that allows you to monitor your Exchange mailboxes so that any emails that are either to or from Mr. Chen within your Outlook can automatically be added to the history so that you don't have to do anything, and all emails related to this, and of course that can be configured the way you want, can automatically be pushed into the history. And rather than getting millions of emails in there, you can put an expiration such that you only want the past 3 months worth of emails or the past year's worth of emails or some other rule to keep that number appropriate. And that's an amazing new feature that we've added in the last release. Okay, so let's talk about how you can get candidates into the system. We've got a couple ways. The first way is using our web connector. The system can actually generate HTML, XML, or a JavaScript that you can put on a website that allows you to tie a web page directly to a record within your SharePoint. So here on our BPA Solutions site, if you request a free trial, these are actually going to automatically populate the fields within our internal database and generate through workflow an automatic email back to you to give you your trial credentials, to give you information about the products, and then also create tasks for follow-up for the sales team and the like. So really, by surfacing the information on a website, you can get not only data, but you can also get attachments automatically pushed into your lists. And what's great about that is if you're posting lots of jobs and people are applying for a specific job, all of that information can automate how candidates go in. The second way is we've got a new import tool that allows you to import CSV files, Excel files, comma delimited files, and the like. So you can save different profiles, and essentially what we do is you take a map, a list, and then you mapping. And within the field mapping, you can enforce a unique constraint. You can concatenate columns together to create a full name. So you can see here we're concatenating first name and last name, or last name and first name to create the full name. And all of these fields are right within that candidate list from the CSV file. So if we wanted to make email address unique so that you didn't get duplicates, you would just simply do that, and it would enforce the uniqueness of that field within the database. So 2 great ways to get lots of data pushed in there. You can do up to 1,000 records at a time, which is the SharePoint limitation, but off you go with an import. Of course, since these are all list data, you can go ahead and generate workflows underneath this system based on adding or changing or modifying records. So, or you can use standard SharePoint Designer workflows. And typically what we see in the application process is obviously as things change within the application, as you go from considering to reviewing to interviewing, that can spawn next steps within the workflow to move it through a status. And then you can see underneath all of this, go ahead and take a look at our calendar. And our calendar is another web part that allows you to pull together data from multiple lists and color code it and view it on a shared calendar, either in month, week, or day view. So we can see we've got in our little legend down here calendar items, task items, and different campaigns that are going on, and the like. So not only do we support a shared calendar, but a new web part that we have allows us to aggregate what we call a dashboard. And the dashboard is a single page that allows you to surface reports that were generated through our report builder, as well as 15 different charts that we include in our web part bundle that allow you to see things like applications by month. We got pie charts, graph charts, funnels, and things like that. What's nice in our latest release is that if you want to see the data underlying these charts, they are now clickable, and you can take a look at the applications that generated that view, and then of course zoom in on these to see the specific data for each of the records underneath. So lots of charting, dashboarding. So rather than having just a single chart on the page, the dashboard allows you to create multiple charts and reports and the like. Okay, so that's a lot of what your applications will look like when you enable them with the solution. Of course, all of this is accessible through our mobile app. Just to let you know, these mobile apps for iOS can access SharePoint, but they can also access Office 365 SharePoint sites as well. And you can navigate from the same relationships. When you pull it up, you can take a look at a vacancy. You can see all the candidates related to a vacancy. If we come in here, and it works exactly the same way, and it does cache it locally so that we can work offline, both editing, adding, and viewing data. And like we can see all the applicants for this specific vacancy. One of the other things is as tasks are assigned to us, the notifications are sent to you. They look like SharePoint notifications, but they do have a lot of the data related to it. And you can go ahead and zoom right into this release, into this record. You can also modify your alert settings. You can view the follow-up, view the tasks, or the like. Or a mobile view if you're seeing this on your phone, which would push you into the mobile app and you would view it right from there. The other thing is if you get an email that you want to send to an application, we've got our Office connector, which allows you to create multiple rules to send this email to wherever you want. So unlike the automated piece, which let's say any email I get from Boris Lutz will automatically be pushed into Boris Lutz's record, if there's something I want to ad hoc move in there, whether it's a task, an event, or an email, you can go ahead and select what you want to do with it. So a lot of times there may be multiple rules. You may get an email that you want to send to the recruiting. There may be another email that you want to send to the executive task manager. There may be an email that's sent somewhere else. So in this case, what we've done to speed up performance on this is the new Outlook connector will cache all of the list information so that as you pull up the data that you want to assign to this email, it won't have to go fetch that from your SharePoint site. So you can see how fast that worked in pulling back the information in here. And we pre-filled it to percent complete of 100%. It's an email, but you can see it's got all of the other information from the list. And then we can change the status, make it in progress, and then a task name and the like. You can manually refresh the cache if you like, or you can just send it as is. So the Outlook integration is very good in terms of performance and very easy to use within Outlook itself. So some other things that we're not going to be able to see, but what I want to do is just do one more quick poll here. Because I want to see what version of SharePoint everybody's running. We still see a lot of 2010 out there, but less and less as the years go by. And yeah, about 1/3, 2/3 on the poll here. So go ahead and close it and then show you this. And then the last piece of the puzzle in terms of the polls is we're always interested to see how large SharePoint, how many users are on SharePoint. That's interesting. It's pretty much broken right into quarters. We'll go ahead and close that and show it. We've got pretty much 25% at each level, and it looks like maybe a couple at over 1,000. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing all of that and the like. So in conclusion, what we can see is that the BPA web parts, you can build your own solutions in one day starting from a blank site or an existing site. We have one client right now that's applying all the BPA web parts to an existing project site that they have. So they manage all of their projects. They were using standard SharePoint lists, but as that thing grew, it became very cumbersome. There was a lot of list data. The navigation became more and more difficult, and what they were able to do is just simply layer on the BPA web parts and turn that existing site into something like you see here that has colored navigation, that's got the data viewers, that have all the related tasks for a specific project, the ability to quickly add information, integrate it with Outlook and Exchange, and create a very, very rich application for their users. That we've demonstrated are available within SharePoint, both Foundation and Server. Some of the things we've seen, again, are activity management, meeting management, CRM, incident tracking, audit management, risk management, control management, equipment and calibration, and all sorts of things that we all love SharePoint to be able to do. So we're a BPA partner here in the U.S., and we'd love to talk with you. Thank you all for coming.